welcome back, everyone out there on the YouTubes. I am back in the workshop. I need to clean up my work table, but I wanted to try to clear up the whole propagation box, humidity box thing if I wasn't too clear on what I did with the other ones, which is this one over here and the one in the basement with the lights inside. So propagation boxes and humidity boxes are actually the same thing. They don't need to have the lights inside like I did on the bigger ones. So all these containers you see in front of me can be used as a propagation box or a humidity box of some sort. It's preferable if they have a see-through lid, and it's also preferable if it's see-through all around, because the more light that can get inside, the better. These containers with the opaque or solid colored lids, it's blocking a lot of potential light penetration into the box, and that's the only reason that I put lights on the big box. But you don't absolutely need to have the lights like I did on top. Once again, like with anything else, if you have less light penetration, it is going to slow down the process a bit, but nonetheless, it still will work. The other key is having a lid that kind of snaps on, that gives a good seal. It doesn't have to be airtight, but something that snaps on will do better than something that's just loosely sitting on top. If you don't have a lid or a covering that snaps on, do like I did with one of the small seedling pots that I showed before, where you just put a sandwich bag on top and put an elastic band around it to help trap in the humidity. As long as the majority of the humidity stays in the box, you're good. And a good way to see if that's happening is you set up the box with plants or the sphagnum moss that is wet and just cover it. And within 24 hours, you should see condensation on the inside of the box. And that's the humidity inside building up. So, like I said, you don't need to get as complicated as I did with the previous box putting the lights on, but I want to make sure I got as much light penetration in there as possible. The other thing to keep in note, or to keep in mind, if you're doing a propagation box, if you want to use the box as a propagation box, because like I said, they're the same box, you can use different types of media. I use the sphagnum moss because that's what I had on hand to try this and experiment for the first time. And I just moistened it down, put it in the bottom, and actually, this is what I did. Let me quickly grab this. I just put the sphagnum moss in a tray, make sure it was damp, and then put this inside the large humidity box. You can just put the sphagnum, if you're doing a smaller box like this, just put the sphagnum moss in the actual box, cover it up, put it in a warm place, and the same thing will happen. You can either use the sphagnum moss or the perlite. I haven't myself tried the perlite, but I know a lot of people out there use it. I don't know if it's any better, but as long as you have a moist medium in the bottom that the cuttings or seeds can draw moisture from and the roots can go in, it should be good. I think the only issue people had with the sphagnum moss is the roots that develop when it develops into the sphagnum moss. It can get really tangled. So detangling this, it can be a bit annoying, and depending on what you're propagating, there's a chance of you damaging the roots because they are so intertwined with the sphagnum moss. So I believe that's why some people go to the perlite. Perlite, I think, is more messy initially to set up because this thing has a lot of powder on it. So before you use it, you should put it in a bowl or something and rinse it out with cold water to get as much of that dust out of there before you put it in your box. But those are the two popular mediums. You don't want to put dirt in here because dirt has microorganisms, possibly like fungus seeds and stuff like that. So that can get really crazy and out of control if you just dumped like garden soil or any kind of potting soil mix. The microbial life will explode in a high humidity, warm environment. So just put something simple like perlite. You probably can use vermiculite as well if you want to try that, or sphagnum moss. My personal opinion is the perlite might be a bit more challenging to keep balanced in the box, and by that I mean when you're using the sphagnum moss, you want it like really damp but not soaking wet. And you can kind of control that by the feel of the sphagnum moss. With the perlite, once you put it in the box and you put water in there, you can't really squeeze out the water. So it's kind of, for me, I'm thinking it's kind of harder to maintain the right moisture level. The reason you don't want just a whole bunch of water sitting in there is that there's a chance that your cuttings will rot just sitting in the water like that. So those are your two choices. If I get around to it, I will make an attempt to try to do one of these boxes with the perlite and compare the results to the sphagnum moss and see if it was any more difficult to maintain or whatever else. But the key takeaway from all this is that a humidity box and a propagation box are the same thing. It just depends on what you're using it for. If you're putting little plants in there, like the alocasia or whatever, just to keep it in a high humidity environment, it's a humidity box. If you're doing propagations and cuttings and seeds, it's a propagation box all of a sudden. So, but it's the same thing. Don't be too concerned on what you use. Try to get a see-through container with a see-through lid. They're the best results. But don't shy away from trying it with a box that has a solid lid. I hope that explains more of what's going on here. Humidity box, propagation box, same thing. And yeah, have an awesome week, people.